Vincent Hale was a patient once, but by the stormy night he returned to Cedar Grove. He had become a hunter while Dr. Henry Caldwell, unaware of the danger, worked late in his quiet clinic, minutes away from a murder and a 133-mile-per-hour escape that would haunt the town forever. Rain slid across the narrow streets of Cedar Grove in thin silver threads, turning the sidewalks slick and the air heavy with the scent of wet asphalt. Dr. Henry Caldwell, a physician known for his steady kindness and careful manner, stayed late in his small clinic to finish charting patient notes. The quiet of the building was broken only by the faint hum of fluorescent lights and the ticking of a wall clock. He felt the fatigue of a long day settle into his shoulders, but decided to double-check a few files before locking up. Outside, the parking lot lay empty except for his own car, its windows blurred with mist. He had no idea that someone was watching from the shadows beyond the streetlights, eyes fixed and unblinking. Miles away earlier that evening, Vincent Hale drove with deliberate calm through back roads lined with towering pines. His car, a faded black sedan with one headlight dimmer than the other, carried the smell of stale coffee and gasoline. Vincent's mind replayed a single memory again and again, an appointment with Dr. Caldwell years ago that ended with words he could never forget. Over time, the memory had hardened into a knot of resentment. He believed the doctor had overlooked something important, something that had changed the course of his life. That belief had grown into a private storm, a restless energy that no friend or family member ever witnessed. Now, as he neared Cedar Grove, the storm inside him had reached its peak. The town was quiet. Shops closed early because of the weather, leaving the streets deserted. Vincent parked 2 blocks from the clinic and turned off his engine, letting the rain cover the sound of his footsteps. He moved through the night with a patient stillness, careful not to draw attention. Every drop of rain seemed louder than it should have been, each flash of distant lightning sharpening his focus. Across the parking lot, the glow of the clinic's office window revealed Dr. Caldwell leaning over a desk, unaware of the figure approaching through the dark. The doctor finally gathered his things, sliding folders into his leather bag. As he reached for the light switch, the window reflected only his own tired face, never the shadow slipping closer outside. The town's peace remained unbroken for a few more silent moments. Then the door lock clicked shut, the sound barely audible over the rain, and the night prepared to swallow a tragedy no one yet suspected. Morning arrived beneath a blanket of low gray clouds, the storm from the night before still clinging to the air. Cedar Grove, normally alive with the scent of fresh bread from the corner bakery and the sound of school children at play, awoke instead to the sharp wail of sirens. The quiet neighborhood surrounding Dr. Caldwell's clinic filled with red and blue flashes as emergency vehicles lined the wet street. Neighbors peered from curtained windows, confusion etched across their faces as uniformed officers moved with hurried purpose. Yellow tape stretched across the entrance to the small parking lot, fluttering in the damp breeze like a warning flag. Behind the clinic, officers discovered a scene that froze them where they stood. Dr. Henry Caldwell lay sprawled on the slick pavement, his white coat soaked through with rain and marked by a single deep wound. The attack had been quick and precise, leaving little evidence beyond a dark stain spreading across the concrete. There were no signs of a struggle, no frantic trail of defensive injuries, only the unmistakable certainty that whoever had done this had planned it carefully. The doctor's keys and wallet remained untouched, ruling out a random robbery and forcing investigators to consider a more personal motive. Detectives canvassed the area, questioning the few early risers who had braved the gloomy morning. A baker recalled seeing a dark car speeding down Main Street before dawn, tires screeching on the wet road. Another witness, a truck driver passing through town, mentioned the faint outline of a black sedan parked near the clinic hours earlier. Surveillance cameras offered little comfort. The grainy footage caught only a fleeting shape of vehicle with one dim headlight and a partial license plate smeared by rain. By midday, a name emerged from the fragmented clues. Records showed the vehicle belonged to Vincent Hale, a former patient of Dr. Caldwell. His medical history hinted at long-standing grievances and a sudden withdrawal from treatment years ago. When officers visited the last known address, they found an empty apartment and neighbors who said he had disappeared weeks earlier without a word. A statewide bulletin was issued, warning that Vincent might be armed and dangerous. Roadblocks formed on major highways, and state troopers scanned every passing vehicle. As evening settled over Cedar Grove, the town's sense of safety unraveled. Residents locked doors early and whispered about the man who had brought violence to their quiet streets. Somewhere beyond the dark tree line, Vincent Hale was already on the move, leaving behind only the echo of sirens and a trail of unanswered questions. Late that night, as rain returned in a fine mist, the manhunt stretched across county lines. Patrol cars rolled along the empty highways with their lights dimmed, radios alive with terse updates. Vincent Hale had managed to stay invisible since dawn, but luck began to thin near Interstate 47. A highway camera caught the faint blur of a black sedan with a failing headlight, traveling faster than surrounding traffic. The alert flashed through dispatch channels, and within minutes a patrol officer spotted the vehicle merging onto a long, open stretch of road. When the cruiser's lights ignited in the darkness, the sedan gave no sign of slowing. Instead, its taillights flared like twin sparks, and the chase began. The sedan leapt forward, engine roaring against the wet pavement. Speed climbed from 80 to 90, then past 100, the black shape slicing through the night. Rain slicked the asphalt, making every turn treacherous. Highway signs whipped by in a blur as Vincent pushed harder, the needle on the speedometer edging toward a staggering 133 miles per hour. Troopers joined the pursuit, their sirens wailing like warning bells, while dispatch called for aerial support. A police helicopter lifted into the low clouds, its searchlight sweeping the highway below. Drivers who had been cruising home after late shifts pulled to the shoulders, startled by the sudden storm of sirens and flashing lights. Some watched from the safety of their vehicles as the black sedan streaked past, a ghostly shadow chased by an army of red and blue. The pursuit stretched for miles, through long rural corridors where trees bent in the wind and rain washed across the roadway in silver sheets. Each moment carried the risk of disaster. One wrong move could send metal and glass spinning into chaos. Officers coordinated ahead, laying spike strips across a narrow section of road where the highway narrowed near a rural bridge. Communication crackled over radios as the helicopter tracked every move from above. Vincent showed no sign of hesitation, weaving between patrol cars and edging perilously close to the concrete barriers. His tires hissed against the wet surface, throwing arcs of water into the night. As the bridge loomed, tension built inside every trailing cruiser. The sedan's brake lights flickered once, then vanished into the darkness. For a breathless instant, it seemed the vehicle might outrun them all, but the trap lay waiting, silent and cold against the rain-slicked asphalt, ready to bring the chase to a violent end. The bridge stretched across a narrow river like a dark ribbon, slick with rain and shining under the weak glow of street lamps. Officers had set the spike strip just beyond the midpoint, a final barrier against the speeding sedan. From the sky, the helicopter's searchlight swept over the roadway, catching the black car as it surged forward, tires slicing through puddles in a fan of mist. Vincent Hale showed no sign of slowing. The sound of his engine echoed across the water, a low, relentless growl that rose above the storm. Patrol cars tightened formation behind him, careful to maintain distance in case of sudden impact. The moment the sedan hit the spikes, a sharp pop cut through the night. Front tires burst in rapid succession, rubber shredding and sparking as the metal rims scraped the asphalt. The vehicle skidded violently, fishtailing across the wet bridge. Sparks sprayed in brilliant arcs as the car slammed against the guardrail, the impact sending a metallic screech into the darkness. For a heartbeat, it looked as if the sedan might break through the barrier and plunge into the river below, but the guardrail held firm, shuddering under the force. Steam hissed from the hood, mixing with rain and smoke until the vehicle was cloaked in a white, swirling haze. Officers approached with weapons drawn, voices sharp over the hiss of the storm. Their flashlights cut across shattered glass and twisted metal, illuminating an eerie emptiness. Inside the car, the driver's seat sat vacant, the engine still ticking with residual heat. The driver's side door hung open, swinging gently in the damp wind. Water pooled around footprints on the slick surface of the bridge, a trail leading toward the dense woods that bordered the riverbank. The prints dissolved quickly under the falling rain, fading as though they had never existed. Search teams spread out along the tree line, dogs straining at their leashes as they caught a faint scent. Officers combed through thickets and muddy trails, their beams of light darting between trunks and low branches. Helicopters hovered overhead, thermal cameras sweeping the forest canopy for any sign of movement. Yet the darkness of the woods swallowed every clue. Hours passed as the storm deepened, washing away the last fragments of the trail. By dawn, the search area stretched for miles with nothing to show but churned mud and broken underbrush. When daylight finally broke through the clouds, the bridge stood silent, littered with fragments of glass and tire debris. Vincent Hale had vanished into the wilderness, leaving behind only questions and a growing unease that he might already be far beyond their reach. Days turned to weeks as Cedar Grove struggled to regain a sense of normal life, though the memory of flashing lights on the bridge lingered in every conversation. Law enforcement expanded their search well beyond the county, dispatching teams to neighboring states and issuing alerts to federal agencies. Flyers bearing Vincent Hale's photograph appeared on gas station doors, grocery store bulletin boards, and highway rest stops. Tips arrived in a steady trickle, some claiming sightings of a man matching his description in distant truck stops, others reporting abandoned sheds and faint campfire smoke deep in the woods. Each lead ended in frustration, the trail dissolving like the footprints that first night. Investigators studied Vincent's past in hopes of predicting his next move. Records revealed a man who lived in fragments, short-term jobs, quick relocations, and an absence of lasting TIs. Former co-workers described him as quiet but intense, a person who watched more than he spoke. Old acquaintances recalled moments of sudden anger that faded as quickly as they came. Psychologists consulted on the case suggested that Vincent's ability to detach might allow him to disappear entirely, blending into new surroundings with alarming ease. The thought unsettled residents who wondered if the man could be walking among them even now. The murder of Dr. Henry Caldwell became a national headline for a brief time, drawing reporters who stood outside the clinic's rain-streaked windows to broadcast live updates. They spoke of the quiet doctor, the mysterious patient, and the high-speed flight that captured the public's imagination. Viewers across the country debated theories. Some believed Vincent fled across the border using back roads, while others insisted he was hiding in an abandoned farmhouse within the very woods officers had scoured. A few suggested he might have taken his own life, though no evidence supported that idea. Months passed, and the urgency of the case began to fade from nightly news, but not from the hearts of those in Cedar Grove. Residents still locked their doors earlier than before, casting wary glances at strangers. Dr. Caldwell's clinic reopened under new staff, yet patients noticed the hush that settled in the waiting room when rain began to fall. The bridge where the chase ended remained scarred, guardrail bent and pavement etched with skid marks, a silent monument to the night chaos erupted. Years later, Vincent Hale's name lingers like a rumor. The unanswered questions why he struck, how he vanished, where he hides continue to shadow the town. Some nights, when storms roll in and the wind rattles the windows, locals swear they can almost hear the distant roar of a car engine, fading into the endless dark.